may yet be seen upon the borders of Thuringia. The Water King, from the 3rd to the 12th stanza, is the fragment of an original Danish ballad, and Belerma and Durandate is translated from some stanzas to be found in a collection of old Spanish poetry, which contains also the popular song of Gayferos and Melisindra, mentioned in Don Quixote. I have now made a full avowal of all the plagiarisms of which I am aware myself, but I doubt not many more may be found, of which I am at present totally unconscious. Volume 1. Chapter 1. Lord Angelo is precise. Stand at a guard with envy, scarce confesses that his blood flows, or that his appetite is more to bread than stone. Measure for measure. Scarcely had the abbey bell tolled for 5 minutes, and already was the church of the Capuchins thronged with auditors. Do not encourage the idea that the crowd was assembled either from motives of piety or thirst of information. But very few were influenced by those reasons. And in a city where superstition reigns with such despotic sway as in Madrid, to seek for true devotion would be a fruitless attempt. The audience now assembled in the Capuchin church was collected by various causes, but all of them were foreign to the ostensible motive. The women came to show themselves, the men to see the women. Some were attracted by curiosity to hear an orator so celebrated. Some came because they had no better means of employing their time till the play began. Some from being assured that it would be impossible to find places in the church, and one half of Madrid was brought thither by expecting to meet the other half. The only persons truly anxious to hear the preacher were a few antiquated devotees and half a dozen rival orators, determined to find fault with and ridicule the discourse. As to the remainder of the audience, the sermon might have been omitted altogether, certainly without their being disappointed, and very probably without their perceiving the omission. Whatever was the occasion, it is at least certain that the Capuchin church had never witnessed a more numerous assembly. Every corner was filled, every seat was occupied. The very statues which ornamented the long aisles were pressed into the service. Boys suspended themselves upon the wings of cherubims. St. Francis and St. Mark bore each a spectator on his shoulders, and St. Agatha found herself under the necessity of carrying double. The consequence was that, in spite of all their hurry and expedition, our two newcomers, on entering the church, looked round in vain for places. However, the old woman continued to move forwards. In vain were exclamations of displeasure vented against her from all sides. In vain was she addressed with, "I assure you, Senora, there are no places here. I beg, Senora, that you will not crowd me so intolerably. Senora, you cannot pass this way. Bless me, how can people be so troublesome?" The old woman was obstinate, and on she went. By dint of perseverance and 2 brawny arms, she made a passage through the crowd, and managed to bustle herself into the very body of the church, at no great distance from the pulpit. Her companion had followed her with timidity and in silence, profiting by the exertions of her conductress. "Holy Virgin!" exclaimed the old woman in a tone of disappointment, while she threw a glance of inquiry round her. "Holy Virgin! What heat! What a crowd! I wonder what can be the meaning of all this. I believe we must return. There's no such thing as a seat to be had, and nobody seems kind enough to accommodate us with theirs." This broad hint attracted the notice of 2 cavaliers, who occupied stools on the right hand and were leaning their backs against the 7th column from the pulpit. Both were young and richly habited. Hearing this appeal to their politeness pronounced in a female voice, they interrupted their conversation to look at the speaker. She had thrown up her veil in order to take a clearer look round the cathedral. Her hair was red, and she squinted. The cavaliers turned around and renewed their conversation. "By all means," replied the old woman's companion. "By all means, Leonela, let us return home immediately. The heat is excessive, and I'm terrified at such a crowd." These words were pronounced in a tone of unexampled sweetness. The cavaliers again broke off their
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.